Welcome back to the AutoMax channel and welcome to another rally locations episode. So the first couple of days of the RAC rally always consisted of what a lot of people called Mickey Mouse stages. They were based around country homes, country manors, parks, sometimes even safari parks. A lot of the drivers, they weren't really, they nicknamed them the Mickey Mouse stages because they weren't proper rally stages. They were more a spectacle for spectators to get close to the action. So a lot of people didn't really want to waste their time and make mistakes on these little park stages because they thought, yeah, it was a bit of a waste of time. A lot of drivers accepted that it was good for the fans, so they wanted it to carry on and they were happy to do it. This one, the one we're at today, the first location of today's episode, is none other than Chatsworth House. Chatsworth House over the years has claimed quite a few victims in its jump, tree stump and water splash. So the plan today is to have a nice walk around in the sun and find these locations. So grab a cup of tea and enjoy. So here we are about 500-600 yards off the start line of the 1996 Chatsworth House stage. Sadly we can't get to exactly where the start line is because, as it says on here, it's private land. But we can start the episode from here. So Chatsworth stages changed a little bit over the years. They ran them in different directions. They went slightly different ways around the grounds. But we're going to concentrate today on this part of the video on 1996 because there was a few famous incidents not far from where I'm stood now. So let's start here. So we'll show you the in-car. The cars come from just on the farm over there. They come over this bridge and then they come out onto this tarmac road and right out of here.
Rally drivers, absolutely. But you see how slowly he got off the line. He's got caught out there on the bridge. You see he's gone very, very wide.
Now one thing you'll notice, today I've got sunglasses on and it's boiling hot. Probably one of the hottest days of the year. When the rally was here in 1996, it definitely wasn't the hottest day of the year. It was November, it was snowing, and there was a lot of ice on the ground. So you can see here, this is all tarmac, and I think a lot of it back then was bits of tarmac and bits of gravel road, but any of the tarmac sections were, after the four-wheel drive cars had gone through, were really, really hard, compact ice. So after a few of the heavy cars had gone through, it compacted. Then by the time the fast front-wheel drive cars come through, it was quite slippery. So I'll show you the next section, which is a bit that you'll probably remember. So in this next section, keep an eye out for that pavilion on the right hand side there. So we'll flick to the in-car now.
Down then.
And you'll see this pavilion is clear to see. Now there's one thing that is missing from the footage, which when we get a bit closer, I'll point out to you. So the in-car footage we got is of Gwyndaf Evans, a local hero for us in Dolgellau and a good friend of ours. So by this time, 1996, he was British rally champion, driving the Gordon Spooner engineering Ford F2 car, not the Maxi, the wide one, but still quite a fast front-wheel drive car. So the RAC rally technically would have been like the icing on the cake, a nice little way to finish the season. But inevitably, it was ice and cake in his face that ended his rally. So it's quite a fast section coming into here, and look, it's tarmac. So the cars would have been flying in. Keep an eye for this lodge on the right hand side here. Coming across this small junction here, this crossroads, and the car then understeers because he's got no grip on the compacted ice. Understeers, and you can see he's almost jabbing the throttle, and I suppose we'll ask Gwyndaf maybe if he wants to talk about it, but I suppose he thought he could maybe power out of it. But on the outside of this corner, sadly it's gone now, so we haven't got a point of reference, but on the outside of this corner here, there would have been a sawn off tree stump. So we're thinking about here, there would have been a tree stump cut off about this high. And Gwyndaf just collects the back of the car on it and then rolls a few feet down there and lands just opposite the fence.
I see on this straight bit, the car twitching from side to side. And,
Oh,
he's sideways, he's off! And that car has turned over, and look at it now, because Gwyndaf Evans and Howard Davis are still on the stage. It's back on its wheels, but that car is very, very bad.
Now, Gwyndaf wasn't the only one caught out by this tree. Robbie Head in the Maxi Megane, he was caught out by this tree stump. And if you look at the footage, he's coming in a lot faster. That 7-speed Megane, probably geared different to the Ford. So he's coming in a lot faster, and he did exactly the same thing. Difference is, Gwyndaf managed to drive his car out, whereas Robbie's car was stuck there on its roof.
Oh, look.
And he's right off! A huge accident for Robbie Head. The car turns over and over and over, comes to rest on its side, and the car's back on its wheels, but it is dreadfully, dreadfully damaged. And I think, Malcolm, that was...
Yeah, let's just have a look there, we'll see where they landed. Pretend I'm a tree stump. This is where I would have been. Gwyndaf and Robbie slid round, hit me, and then sent the car flying over in that direction. Now what you could say is, we could have avoided Robbie's accident maybe, if marshals or someone had told Robbie on the start line that Gwyndaf had gone off there on the ice. Could have maybe prevented Robbie going off, but look at the footage. To me, it looks like Robbie's approaching it a lot faster than Gwyndaf. I know the car, the Maxi Megane, was probably a faster car than the Ford. Definitely different gearing, because one's a 7-speed box, which was quite rare, and the other one would have been either a 6-speed sequential, most likely in the Escort. So the cars rolled and landed about here. You can see in Robbie's footage, his co-driver's got the horn on full blast. His foot must have hit the horn.
Das Auto nicht mehr und Renaults Weltmeisterschaftshoffnungen. Zerschellten am selben Baum.
So the car was on its roof about here somewhere, I'd say. So if we look carefully, we might be able to find some bits of Megane and Ford Escort, but very unlikely. And you can see it's a fair old distance from there, so they must have been carrying quite a lot of speed. Yeah, the difference being Gwyndaf managed to drive out, but if you look at the car, the cage is crushed down, and they retired the car. They retired from the rally, one because the car had a damaged cage, two because the cage actually came down and compressed Gwyndaf's spine slightly. So you'll see when they get to the courtyard, they've braced Gwyndaf up and he's gone to hospital. Robbie seemed to be all right. He got out of the car. I think the co-driver was probably worse off than that. If you see on the roll, it's almost like his helmet's nearly coming out the window. But yeah, that's about here. So that's the first location of the Chatsworth stage that has got a bit of an iconic area, if you like. There's a few more on this estate which we're going to go and see, but it's a shame that the tree stump's not there, because that would give us an actual point of reference. But you can still see the pavilion there. You can see a fence in the background, but it's since been replaced by a metal one. But yeah, we're definitely in the right area. Well, we know that from the maps that we've got. So the next location is probably on the other side of this estate, so we've got a bit of walking to do. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, this is something we enjoy doing, so we hope you enjoy it. So the Chatsworth stage was used in different directions in different periods of time, and they used slightly different parts of the estate for different years. So some, if you look at the maps of different years, some are like 8-kilometre stages, some are even as much as 12, 13, where they've been going in and out of all the roads. But we've come to the second famous location on the Chatsworth estate, and from the footage I've seen, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that in 1994 Didier Auriol hits this rock here. I don't think this tree would have been here then, or if it was, it might have been in a slightly different position. So Didier Auriol hits this rock here, rips the right front wheel off the hub, and then continues down into this very, very famous water splash.
I piani messi a punto da team e piloti alla vigilia, anche in questa edizione ha voluto mantenere fede alla sua fama, proponendo di
So here we are at one of the most famous Chatsworth locations. Now normally this was filled with water, as you can see here by the drainage holes. Basically up there in the trees there is a sluice gate, and they opened the sluice, and that then monitored how much water they put in the water splash. Now famously in the recce, There's footage of Carlos Sainz talking about this, because Carlos Sainz came a cropper on this water splash a few times, damaged radiators, and he said that in the recce there wasn't half as much water in it as on the actual rally. So cars were coming quite fast down this section here and hitting the water splash thinking that it was as full as it was on the recce, but in actual fact the groundsman of Chatsworth House had opened the sluice gate a bit and filled it a bit more, because there's spectators all over the hillside here, so they'd have wanted a big splash. So the cars come into this water splash and then on the way out left various bits of their car all over the place. So if they didn't have such tidy groundskeepers here in Chatsworth, we probably could find a lot of memorabilia dotted about here. Bumper pods, bumpers. Ewan Kankinen in the Lancia Delta, his grille came off and smashed all his bumper. Carlos twice damaged his radiator in this water splash.
So set the alarm bells ringing in the Subaru camp. Just like last year, his Chatsworth water splash attack damaged the radiator.
Carlos, what's happened?
The same as last year. Too much water in this water splash and the radiator broke. So we lost all the water.
The water splash was the same level as the recce?
I think it was deeper again. I think they have refueled with some more water, but okay, let's see if we can repair it.
So we got Oriole coming in through the water splash and then powering up the bank there, because obviously his wheel's been damaged. And probably many other famous things that I've probably forgotten about, but it was notorious for being overfilled, this water splash, and a bit of a car breaker. So yeah, here it is today. It's still here. It's clear to see because it's got this concrete sides, and I can only assume that this was purposely made for the rally. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but why else would you fill a section of road with water? You wouldn't, would you? You normally want to drain a section of road. Unless that's what those drains are for, but why would you put a sluice gate there and a concrete basin basically on a road? I don't know. Maybe there's another reason for it, but I can only think because Chatsworth over the years, as part of the RAC rally and the Network Q RAC rally, all its names over the years was always an iconic place, and the rally cars always came here. So it's a shame that they don't. I mean, in later years, I think they used to have the Chatsworth Rally Show here. I never went, but apparently that was quite a good event. So maybe, I think Steve Perez had something to do with that. So if you're watching, Steve, maybe you should start that up again. We could open this back up, and probably not allowed, are we? But there we go. Two famous locations on the Chatsworth stage. I'm quite happy to be here really, because I've seen this so many times over the years, being a rally fan. I've seen so much footage of this, and the tree stump, which we went to before this, which in the years that they used this water splash, they would have hit the tree stump in the other direction, and it was more of a jump. I can put an image of that on the screen now. So it was a jump in the other direction and then across the finish line. This is the famous Chatsworth water splash as it is today. Now we've come to Clumber Park, and first location in Clumber Park we're going to do is this ornamental bridge here. Now on the rally, this ornamental bridge would have been lined with hay bales because they didn't want to damage it. They also insured it for £5 million. That was on the 1993 RAC rally. So in 1993 this was a live stage. They ran it in a different direction, so the cars came towards us and then they went left up the hill and then down to a fast section where the finish line was, up that way. Back then there wouldn't have been bollards there. Unfortunately, a few years ago someone drove a Nissan Qashqai and took out half of the bridge, and they had to rebuild it, so they put bollards there to stop it. So that looks like we'll probably never see a rally come over here again. So yeah, we're going to walk the stage as they did the live stage in 1993. And then yeah, we'll go to a few locations, but this being the most iconic location. It's been used on rallies a few times. Clumber Park used in various directions and various ways around the park. Famously, we'll put a clip in a minute, you can see a bit where Phil Collins in the pink Sierra, I think he was coming from that direction. He spins the Sierra and wedges it, basically Austin Powers it on the bridge. So on the footage you can see them coming out of this junction here. Road looks a lot wider back then, so they come out of this junction here and then off in that direction over to the ornamental bridge.
Down to the bridge now, and it'll be interesting to see if they take off at the bridge.
Now, Kankan is, of course, the man who's going to be setting the time for this stage. Last year they averaged about 83 miles an hour. He is capable of 120 miles an hour in this car. He has to go over.
Like I've said before, we're mainly focusing on the 1993 RAC live stage, but they did use Clumber Park in other years. They've used it in both directions. And yeah, there's so many roads around these stately homes. Same with Chatsworth, same with some of the other homes that we'll probably cover. There's so many roads and different variations that you can do here that each year, just to mix it up, they probably decided just to use some other sections of it. A lot of drivers didn't really like it. I mean, in 1993 specifically, I'll see if we can find the location, they tarmacked a hump to make a jump out of it.
So all the way, and on the last two, Didier Oriel just drove like a man possessed, and nobody could understand how he did it. He won the Monte Carlo.
And a lot of the drivers on the recce, they were saying, wow, we don't like this, because the jump was just too sharp, and it wasn't a nice jump to go over. It was a man-made thing, it just wasn't natural at all, and a lot of the drivers didn't like it. And again, it's the same with all these Mickey Mouse stages, as they called it. A lot of the drivers really hated it. They just wanted to get these stages done and then get back to the proper job, which was in the woods, so they could get their teeth into those stages. Here, the grip, you know, the tyre choices, a bit awkward. They were sometimes using tarmac tyres, and it wasn't Rally GB. Rally GB was a gravel event, supposed to be, so they'd come prepared for gravel, but then they had to do these little stages in between, which wasn't great, but it was great for the spectators, and that was the main thing. That was the main purpose of this, is to get the cars close to the spectators. You could get them all parked in the big car parks in these stately homes. They could come in, set themselves up around the stage, and then watch every driver through. And it's a chance to get close to the cars instead of trudging all the way into the woods, which is the hardest part about rallying, is spectating. So that's what these were designed for. These stages were designed for the spectator, not for the driver as much. But a lot of drivers just said, yeah, you know what, it needs to be done. We need to bring this to the spectators. They are what keeps us going, really, and what pays for it. And what we need to do, really, if we want the RAC Rally or the Wales Rally GB or Rally GB back in the UK, we need to get some of these stately homes back on board and get some stages like this back on the rally calendar, because that is the only way it'll happen. So anyone's watching from the National Trust, please, can we come and rally in your woods and put mud flying everywhere and make a mess? But it'll only be for one day, and then we'll clear it all up, promise. Next part of location, we think this is right. There's two strips of bitumen here on the floor, as you can see there. One strip there and one strip over there. Now this is where we think, and we're pretty accurate, we're pretty close to where it was anyway, the man-made jump was in 1993. They came in, council came in and put it in specially for the rally. And we think these two bitumen strips here are either side of the jump. So in the footage you'll see a tarmac lump on the road. They were coming from that direction over the jump this way, and then they were carrying on, and then when the camera pans round in a minute you'll see an oak tree on the right hand side, and then the cars come to a junction and turn left. So the cars would have come over the man-made jump there. Remember, it'll be November, so there's there's no leaves on the trees like there is in mid-July. So yeah, over the man-made jump, which is just on the corner there, flat out round this right-hander here, and then junction left, and you can just see the cars disappearing around the junction at the end of the clip. So cameraman must have been stood probably up here on a stand somewhere, zooming in on the jump and then zooming back out. I would have said he was in this open area here, and then obviously he could see because there was no trees. So we just look here now, we zoomed in on the jump over there, just where that person is with their dog, and then they came panned out, and then you see the cars going off in that direction and then turning left at the junction, just where the second lot of people are in the distance there. Another location found. Clumber Park, we're ticking them off. So here we are at another section of the Clumber live stage. You can still see this tree just on the outside, and then you can see the twisted, thick oak tree there on the left hand side. So the cars came towards us and then down in that direction. There's still a similar type of fencing, but it won't be the same one. And the road's a lot wider back in 1993. Obviously no cars on here anymore, so what we've noticed walking around is a lot of it has changed, and a lot of it is non-car accessible, where they've blocked it off and they've changed things around. But yeah, this bit is definitely visible. So they come through the trees here, uphill slightly, which we'll show you in a minute, and then down to square right at the bottom there. So flat out down there, square right, and then off down that direction. But yeah, these trees are still visible on the footage.
This could be the year it all changes.
In fact, he has only competed in Britain once, and that was in the RAC when he finished 6th in 1991. Which is, why do you think he hasn't been here more often?
This bus shelter is another iconic location on the Clumber Park stage.
100. Turn very, very long, medium right.
So famously, Colin McRae, the year before the 1993 rally, so the 1982 rally, famously overshot this junction, ended up hitting the bales and going off down that exit road there, instead of turning left on this square left here and going down that way. This bus stop is what the drivers used as their turning point, so they were looking for this bus stop before they turned for this square left here. And it's still here. The old bus stop's still here. It's seen better days, but must be very well built. I'm sure it's been rebuilt a few times since then. So that's the Clumber Park stage done. Best go to another one. All these locations are still here and easy to see. It's easy to find. You can go on the rally maps, you can figure out which way the stage went. So the start of the stage was just up in that direction. There's quite a lot of traffic up there now, so we probably won't get that. But this is the first iconic spot on the stage. So after the bus stop junction, they came down this way and past the old thatched cricket ground, which is still here, which we'll show you in a minute. So there's a famous bit of footage where Barry Gill and Tony Mason did the stage on push bikes. And then they talk about the thatched cricket pitch, the cricket pavilion, which the cars come past just after the bus stop junction. It was a square left, and then there's a square right before they go out for the rest of the stage. But yeah, look at that building. We're not a architectural channel, but we've got to take that in.
With Francois Delacour, and was leading and led every stage from the start in Reims all the way, and on the last
Here, leading this rally with the world champion Kankkunen, and I'm
each times until that point. There's a lot of testing for Ford, has been the champion.
So here we are, where we think is the start line for the 1985 RAC rally. The Wollaton Park stage. It's only a short stage this, but it was the opening stage that year. So the cars were here quite early in the morning. First few cars went off in the darkness. Timo Salonen was one of the first out. And we think the start line, the gantry, the Lombard gantry, was about here. So it was at the top of this little brow. They didn't film much about going through the narrow courtyard over there. But from maps and things, it looks like here was the start. The road has changed a lot since then, but if you look at the footage, the road is still quite narrow. So yeah, 1985, Wollaton Park. This is where the start line was. We're going to have a look through the rest of the stage now to see what's still visible. So the next stop is here. You'll see the cars coming. The trees are a bit low now, but you can see the cars coming over that brow and down into this sharp K left, or hairpin left even, just where that bike is now. So they're sharp round that corner. We'll put some footage on now, and then they're off down in this direction. It's a lot narrower and there's a lot more people around. So I think if you were to do something like this, like nowadays, it'd be a job to police it and keep all the people out. And I think that's probably the reason why they don't do it. They don't really want us in here, do they? But this must have been quite spectacular, seeing some of the Group B cars coming through here. Not only loud, but they must have been hitting some speeds, which is what we'll see next. How fast were they going? We'll tell you now. So yeah, we're just at this little triangle section here. I'm not sure quite how they did it. I don't think they went all the way to the end there. They almost look like they'd come round here and then joined this bit of tarmac here. So they came from the hairpin. There's this little, they could have carried on down to where the speed trap is, but they took this little detour here. So off, and you can see the car's struggling for traction because it's very unpaved and it's a bit muddy. So they must have come round here and then back up here, and you can see them just coming wide onto the straight where the speed trap is. So this section here, this changed quite a lot. From the footage, it looks like the cars would have come out of here because a lot of these trees were very young, if not here, at the time. So the cars have come round that hairpin that we were talking about in the previous clip, and then they've come out, dragged all the rubbish off the muddy gravel and slurry and all sorts, and dragged it out onto the road here, stepped out wide, and then they're flat out down this stretch towards the speed trap. This one's a tricky one to see because a lot has changed, but for the rally they might have just cut a route through the trees. You know, it might not have been necessarily a road, it's just something they'd put in ready for the rally. But we can almost see this open bit here, so we're thinking the cars came out of there and then down this straight. Right, so this part of the Woolerton stage is where the famous speed trap was. The board was roughly about here where I'm standing. You can see some of this cobbled curb in the footage, and the speed trap stood probably about here. So we'll have a look through the footage, and I think one of the Lancers, I think it might even be Henry Toivonen or Marco Allen, was one of the fastest down here. They hit the top speed. So let's flick to a clip and we'll see who was the fastest.
There's a huge crowd here at Wollaton Park to watch him. 94 miles an hour as he comes down to 4 times. Here he comes, 85 miles an hour. We see he's been very faithful to them. 95 miles an hour, 98 I see as he comes down the straight. Let's see just what sort of speed. 98. Well, 98 was certainly 86 miles an hour through the speed trap. Fred Gallagher, the Edinburgh man, 105, and that is the quickest that we've seen through the speed trap, turning through the left-hander, and there is no doubt on the evidence of this very first stage in the 1985 RAC Rally that we are going to see some very rapid Lanciers.
So the cars come down here, flat out through the speed trap. Numbers came on the board here, and then they were left, sharp left-hander here, square left, out over towards. There wasn't a playground there at the time, so that's new. So yeah, that's the only bits we can see from then. This curbing, the speed trap there, and then the cars were flat out in that direction. They have used Woolerton the other way around before, but in 1985, when they used that speed trap, but I think they used it on a few other stages. But that is a pretty long straight. So you can imagine a Group B car coming down there and then hard on the anchors here. And then they look like, some of them look like they were in gravel spec as well. So they probably had tar tyres but gravel suspension, because I don't think it would have been worth their time swapping it all over. But there might be a Group B mechanic out there who will tell me otherwise. So as we approach the finish line of the Wollaton Park stage, just behind you, I'll pan round in a minute, they come towards us and then they go square left, and the finish line was literally just after the corner.
Lancia Delta of Marco Allen, which we think is the quickest car so far. Sliding. His overall time, I fancy, will be a little bit down because he certainly will have lost time earlier on the special stage where he really overcooked it. 1:32.49.
So as we approach the finish line of the Wollaton Park stage, we're approaching the finish line of this episode. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed making it. Very tired now because we've crammed 3 houses in one day. So and there's a lot of research gone into this, just looking at things and looking at maps and looking at bits of things that are still here. So yeah, it's been tough, but I think we've brought something worth watching. Let us know which stages you want us to go to next, and we'll put them in the comments, and then we'll see which one's the most popular and we'll make our way there. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.
But looks very quick here. Timo Salonen overshot the corner at Towngate, narrowly missing straw bales. But here he finishes second fastest in the Peugeot.
Down to third gear and a second gear corner here now.
Now, Joachim Campbell is, of course, the man who's going to be setting the time for this stage. Last year they averaged about 83 miles an hour. He is capable of 100.
Tragically died last year.